Most people think a refined entryway requires grand gestures, sweeping staircases, tall ceilings, or a statement chandelier. But that's a myth born from scale, not substance. True refinement doesn't depend on square footage. It depends on perception. It's not about how much space you have. It's about how the space feels the moment you walk through the door. A small entryway has an incredible advantage. It asks you to make every detail speak with purpose. When everything has intention, refinement naturally follows. The difference between simple and sophisticated starts with awareness, not with new furniture or decor. Even the smallest element, a texture, a tone, a finish, contributes to that feeling. Most people try to fix small entryways by adding more. More furniture, more art, more light. But refinement rarely comes from addition. It comes from editing. When a space has room to breathe, the mind notices balance instead of boundaries. Stillness is the unseen element that makes a home feel poised. Even before you hang a mirror or place a vase, stillness sets the tone. It's what turns an ordinary threshold into an intentional beginning. A calm entryway doesn't demand attention, it quietly earns it. In the next layers, we'll explore how small, subtle decisions, light, color, proportion, and flow shape perception far more than size ever could. Most people approach small entryways by adding a console here, hooks there, maybe a mirror to open it up. They think presence comes from filling the gap. But professionals begin with subtraction. Not by removing function, but by removing distraction. Presence isn't about decor, it's about focus. Every refined entryway tells a story of intention. When you walk in and your eyes instantly find a rhythm, there's calm. That's design doing its quiet work. A professional looks at a small entry and asks, what emotion should this space hold? Should it feel restful, orderly, or gracious? Then every item is chosen to support that mood. Refinement happens when everything in view agrees on one message. When a space is curated with restraint, the entryway becomes a transition, not a storage point. You begin to register texture, shadow, and flow instead of clutter. The air feels lighter because the space knows its boundaries. Presence, in the end, is less about objects and more about perception. It's the quiet moment your eyes meet stillness before the rest of your home unfolds. People often assume brightness equals beauty. They add stronger bulbs or wider mirrors, hoping the light will make the entryway feel large. But harsh light flattens detail. It removes depth. Professionals focus on direction, not intensity. Soft, diffused light behaves like music. It moves, it pauses, it draws attention gradually. A sconce that grazes the wall reveals texture beautifully. A shaded lamp on a small table glows with warmth, not glare. That subtlety is refinement. When lighting is layered, your eyes naturally travel through the space. The soft highlights and mild shadows give contour, creating a sense of movement. Suddenly, the entryway feels more dimensional, more alive. Even a small window can become transformative when you frame it with intent. A simple sill, a translucent curtain, or a sleek trim edge directs daylight gracefully. This balanced use of light teaches your eyes where to rest. The lesson is simple: light should never shout. It should whisper, drawing you inward with ease. White is often the first idea for small spaces. It's safe, it's bright, but sometimes it leaves the room feeling unfinished. Professionals know that color isn't a trick for size, but a tool for harmony. Subtle hues, like taupe, dove gray, or muted sage, wrap a space gently. They give warmth, while light continues to play softly on the surface. Darker tones, used with care, can even make an entryway feel embracing, not tight. The refined look comes from contrast with context. A pale wall beside a dark basket, or a wooden hook on matte paint. These details teach the eye calm repetition. When every tone supports another, the space carries rhythm instead of noise. Color also defines emotion. Soft neutrals convey ease. Muted blues add quiet confidence. In small spaces, this emotional temperature matters more than variety. In refined spaces, the palette whispers coherence. It says, "This home knows what it wants to feel like." Most people assume a small space needs only small furniture. But too many undersized pieces make a room feel uncertain. Professionals approach scale with confidence, not caution. A single large mirror or artwork anchors the wall better than 3 small frames. A streamlined bench with generous seat depth can ground the space and add presence. It's less about the number of items and more about authority of proportion. Visual weight creates balance. When one strong silhouette meets one open area, the eye feels relief. This push and pull between full and empty keeps the scene comfortable. Even in tight quarters, negative space gives grace. Leaving parts of a wall bare lets the eye reset. Transforms confinement into calm. Refinement doesn't show off, it self-edits. Each piece you include should settle the eye, not compete for attention. When people decorate, they often pile. They want the space to look done. But layering is not collecting, it's composing. Every layer should serve the feeling, not the inventory. Designers use layers to expand perception. A rough woven mat grounds a console. A glass vase brings transparency above it. Texture replaces clutter as the source of interest. Even small gestures make a difference. A ceramic bowl catching light adds dimension. The grain of wood beside linen softens the tone of the room. Every contrast feels deliberate, not decorative. Depth comes from the quiet dialogue between surfaces. The matte beside the polished, the woven next to the smooth. It's a balance between touch and tone. True refinement lives in restraint. It's the beauty of leaving something unsaid and letting texture finish the sentence for you. In a refined space, boundaries are not limits, they are frameworks. They tell your eyes where one idea ends and another begins. Alignment creates trust. When a rug stops neatly before the wall, or when the mirror aligns with the edge of a console, the mind reads order. That order releases tension. It's the difference between busy and balanced. Professionals treat edges as design opportunities. Molding, thin metal frames, or subtle painted borders clarify flow. When the room's geometry feels coherent, the space feels calm, even if it's small. Boundaries also help guide attention. They allow the brain to rest on focal points instead of wandering endlessly. In that stillness, refinement takes shape. Clarity is elegance. clarity often starts with a straight line. The most refined spaces never feel isolated. Each area leads gracefully to the next, using shared tones and repeated materials. Flow makes even the smallest entryway feel like part of something intentional. Imagine walking through your doorway and seeing the same muted hue echoed in the dining chairs ahead. The mirror frame carries the warmth of the wood used beyond. You move through the home without mental friction. Designers achieve this by controlling rhythm, repetition, contrast, and pause. They repeat colors to calm the eye and introduce variation to keep interest alive. That gentle rhythm feels luxurious because it feels effortless. Even scent or temperature plays a role. A consistent sensory tone, soft lighting, delicate fragrance, muted sound builds coherence. Flow is all the senses in quiet agreement. When flow exists, the entryway doesn't shout, "Start." It simply breathes as part of the home's larger story. Refinement is often mistaken for luxury. But luxury seeks to impress, while refinement seeks to express. It's not about grandeur, but grace, the grace of knowing what belongs and what does not. In a small entryway, clarity is revealed through restraint. When light, color, and line agree, the space releases tension. Even silence becomes part of the design. Refinement doesn't add more, it removes resistance. It lets the eye glide without interruption, the spirit settle without rush. That's the hidden power of intentional design. When your entryway feels clear, every time you cross it, your mind resets. You leave behind the noise and step into something composed. A doorway becomes a ritual. So, in the end, refinement isn't a matter of budget or size, it's a matter of awareness. Notice what gives peace and design around that feeling.